Hello everyone and welcome back to the Blackford Book Club for another volume of my essential film reviews collection. And I may as well be calling these the Wes Anderson sessions, as I'm now going to read, or try to read, a film review that I wrote many years ago on the Royal Tenenbaums. And as it's the Wes Anderson sessions, I'm just going to relax and allow myself as many stumbles and bumbles as happen, as I just adore this film. And anyway, here's a bit of gossip for you. In about an hour I'm going to the cinema and I'm going to see the new Martin Scorsese film, Blood of the Flowers of the Blood Moon, the Moon of the Blood Flowers, Flowers of the Blood Moon, I don't know, it's one of those. Put all those together, throw them into a bag, rip them all up, put them all back together again, and you'll probably get a better title than what I've just provided. Hooray! Anyway, I'm going to the cinema. And nobody watches these videos, but Andy, my brother Andy, might. And it'll be a surprise for him, because he won't be expecting it. I'm not going to tell him. And anyway, Andy, thank you so much for borrowing and lending me the Royal Tenenbaums DVD about 12 or 13 years ago. Thanks, mate. In fact, virtually all memory of the brilliance of the young Tenenbaums had been erased by 2 decades of betrayal, failure and disaster. Narrated by Alec Baldwin throughout, Wes Anderson's third cinematic offering opens, as you'd expect, with an overhead shot of a book, which is upside down, naturally. The book is The Royal Tenenbaums, and it's being checked out of a library, and we continue the book theme as the title slide of Prologue appears, which is very clearly a page from the aforementioned book. Cue an instrumental version of the Beatles' Hey Jude, and sit back, relax and enjoy another Wes Anderson masterclass of melancholic madness, surrealist satire and heartwarming humour. The opening 7.5 minutes has it all. Beautiful sweeping camera shots, straight on unemotional character shots, close-ups on ordinary everyday items, zoom push-ins and outs on characters and title slides, lots and lots and lots of title slides, from Chaz, Room, Second Floor, to financial magazines, library of plays and models of sets, to name just a few. Oh, and a champion tennis player, a cold and deadpan father, a loving and devoted mother, a highly ambitious and successful young boy, a 9th grade playwright, a missing finger, a failed painter, and a very awkward birthday, and some survivors on crackers and root beer, and a falcon named Mordecai. As Mordecai takes flight and is captured beautifully by a slowly moving sweeping camera, the Beatles reach their well-known and crowd-pleasing crescendo, and the continuing theme of the book returns with another title slide, cast of characters, 22 years later. Gene Hackman, Royal Tenenbaum, family patriarch who through his own aloof and singular attitude has become estranged from his wife and 3 children. The onset of cancer forces Royal to re-evaluate his life and seek a family reconciliation. Direct and a force of nature, Royal speaks his mind without regard for those around him, and Hackman portrays him superbly in a tragi-comedy way. The film revolves around his central performance as he tries and comically fails to ingratiate himself back into the lives of his disparate and distant family, and this is personified by his early attempts to involve himself in the lives of his grandchildren Ari and Uzi. His highly inappropriate first meeting with them and his comment that their mother was a terribly attractive woman is wince-inducing, but a later montage soundtracked by Paul Simon's Me and Julio Down by the Schoolyard is a true highlight of the film, both in its simplicity and choice of music. But it's also perfectly symptomatic of Royal himself, a man out of time, quite literally, but whose heart is very nearly in the right place. Angelica Houston, Ethelene Tenenbaum, family matriarch and polar opposite of her husband, a busy archaeologist, bridge player and utterly devoted mother to her children who overlooks their individual foibles, A burgeoning relationship is developing with her accountant, business manager and bridge partner Henry Sherman, but it's her laughter-filled walk with Royal that really showcases Angelica Houston's understated performance. She may well rebuke her husband for impertinently inquiring about her love life at the end of the scene, but the scene itself is a joy, as both lead actors perform admirably, whilst director Anderson follows their stroll with a long sweeping tracking camera throughout. As with Hackman above, this part was written specifically for her and is the first of several collaborations with the director. Ben Stiller, Chaz Tenenbaum. Perma tracksuited, aloof and very, very angry, but often comically so. Chaz is fiercely protective of his two sons, which is exemplified by their chaotic and highly amusing late-night fire drill, but a touching scene soon follows, soundtracked by John Lennon's Look at Me and the highly prescient lyrics of What Am I Supposed to Be? Chaz's thoughts through the prism of John Lennon and another masterstroke from the director. Chaz is deeply resentful of his father, and this is brilliantly encapsulated in their amusing yelling match inside the tight confines of a cupboard housing board games. This is Stiller's one and only collaboration with Anderson to date, and subsequently he's rarely been better than his performance of Chaz here. Gwyneth Paltrow, Margot Tenenbaum. Margot sure has had a colourful life so far, and it shows in every look, touch and nuance of Gwyneth Paltrow's performance as the deeply depressed and psychologically damaged Margot. On the surface she is a secret yet chain smoker, fulfilled yet anything but, and a successful child prodigy playwright. Margot simply hasn't found her place in the world and has been deeply unhappy since her adoption into the Tenenbaum family aged 2. She's in love with her brother Richie, cuckolding her much older neurologist husband and having an affair with Richie's best friend Eli. But this is just the tip of her twisted love life, which is brilliantly realised in just 1 minute of screen time in a flurry of flashbacks and soundtracked by the excellent Judy is a Punk by the Ramones. Despite a particularly difficult role as Margot, Paltrow, like Stiller above, has rarely been better since. Owen Wilson, Eli Cash. Joint co-writer again with director Anderson in their third such collaboration. Owen Wilson returns for his second acting stint here as reckless and feckless family friend Eli Cash. Professionally, Eli is a moderately successful author and assistant professor of English literature, but he's slowly and surely going off the rails and very definitely on drugs. His awkward and secret tryst with Margot is satisfying no one, and tellingly he states to his best friend, "I always wanted to be a Tenenbaum, you know." A superbly comedic cameo from Wilson, and deserving of his Oscar nomination for Best Screenplay at the 2002 Oscars, an honour he shared with his friend and director Anderson. Bill Murray, Raleigh St. Clair. In this, his second collaboration with the director, Murray is excellent as the neurologist come author Raleigh St. Clair. It's a subtle performance of gradual heartbreak, but you'll be cheering for Raleigh before he says au revoir. Danny Glover, Henry Sherman, accountant, business manager and bridge partner of Ethelene, whom he adores and wishes to marry. Glover portrays Sherman with aplomb, typifying his gentlemanly, noble and stoic mannerisms well. Also does a mean comedy for Down a Hole. Luke Wilson, Richie Tenenbaum, permanently dressed like Bjorn Borg at the height of his late 1970s power, in a headband, wristband and feeler tennis shirt. Richie is a professional tennis player who's dropped out of life to sail around the world to nurse his broken heart as he's deeply in love with his adopted sister Margot, but their love is doomed following her recent marriage. Richie is his father's favoured son and particularly close to his dad. However, he's as estranged from him as everyone else. This is Luke Wilson's third collaboration with friend and director Wes Anderson, and owner of two of the film's most heartbreaking scenes, soundtracked by Needle in the Hay by Elliott Smith and Ruby Tuesday by the Rolling Stones. Aside from the central performances noted above, Each of these characters has a real narrative arc, and all have their individual and distinctive character costume. Richie is perennially dressed in his tennis attire and sunglasses. His brother Chaz was always dressed in a formal suit as a child, and so now, dresses as an adult, is constantly dressed in a red Adidas tracksuit. Eli is always dressed as a cowboy, and the remaining older male characters are attired in formal suits throughout the film. Etheline is the only character that doesn't adhere to this rule, and this is possibly a reflection that her character is the only one to have moved on with her life. In supporting roles are numerous actors and personal friends who return again from previous Wes Anderson films, notably father and son Kumar Pallana as Pagoda and Deepak Pallana as Doctor. Seymour Cassell returns as Dusty, and friends Stephen Dignan and Brian Tenenbaum both returns in roles as paramedic. Anderson's brother Eric Chase Anderson is also involved as medical student. Stephen Lear Shepherd deserves great credit for his bizarre, surreal and almost wordless performance as Raleigh Sinclair's pet project, Dudley Heinsbergen. Behind the scenes, Robert Yeoman returns for his third stint as director of photography, and watching the DVD extras and reading numerous articles on this gem of a film, it's apparent how key the partnership between Yeoman and Anderson is, with their meticulous planning of every possible camera angle and ideas fleshed out way before any principal photography is commenced. With every aspect of Anderson's vision pre-planned to the nth degree. A skilled editor is a prerequisite, and Dylan Titchener excels here. Surprisingly, this is the only collaboration to date. However, when you consider that was a good time, wasn't it? However, when you consider the films Titchener has edited since The Royal Tenenbaums, Brokeback Mountain, There Will Be Blood, The Town, Lawless and Zero Dark 30, you can perhaps see why. A man in demand for sure. David Wasco deserves immense credit for the huge amount of production designs, and similarly, this is his one and only collaboration to date. However, he has been rather busy, working on the films of a certain Quentin Tarantino. Mark Mothersbaugh does return for his third stint as music composer. However, it's a more subliminal score here than with the Rushmore score, but the film excels again with its inclusion of so many classic 60s, 70s and 1980s tracks. In addition to the aforementioned songs from the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, Paul Simon and the Ramones, there are further songs from Bob Dylan, The Clash and many others before the film's closing credits and the perfectly fitting Everyone by Van Morrison. The story of the Tenenbaum family continues throughout in a storybook fashion, with titled slides announcing chapters 1 through 7 before this darkly comedic yet melancholic familial tale of insecurities, loss, unrequited love, redemption and finding your place in the world concludes with a title slide of epilogue and another classic slow motion ending and the strains of Van Morrison. Wes Anderson and Owen Wilson fully deserve their joint Oscar nomination for Best Original Screenplay for this disturbingly funny tale. Rushmore was an incredibly hard act to follow, and they almost surpassed it. 13 years on, The Royal Tenenbaums is another bona fide Wes Anderson masterpiece, with all of his trademarks of title slides, overhead shots, tracking shots, close-in unemotional character shots, and extreme zoom-ins on ordinary everyday objects in place, and the Tenenbaum family tale still resonates deeply with me and remains a melancholic gem well worthy of 2 hours of your time. God, I bet this wasn't well worthy of 10 minutes of your time. Thanks for watching. Thanks brother Andy for the DVD. I've still got it in the cabinet beside me. And I'll be seeing you in about an hour when we go to see the new Martin Scorsese film. So if you ever watch this video, put a comment down below. Go on. Anybody else put a comment as well. Just tell me how rubbish this has been. Blimey, I do try. I haven't really on this one. I'm going to forgive myself. This is the Wes Anderson sessions. We can go and do whatever we want. We can take over the world. We can start singing if we want. It's up to you. I don't mind. I don't control you. You're you and I'm me. And there's lots and lots for us to see. Yeah, I'm not going to do that song again. Right, thanks very much. God, this is a really panicked ending. Oh my Lord. Peace and solidarity. And I thank you so much for watching. I don't know what's going on. I'm going to the cinema in an hour. I can't wait. I'm really excited. I think Flowers of the Blood Moon, or Blood Moon of the Flowers, whatever the hell it's called. I think it's going to be a corking film. And I can't wait to watch it. And I'll be watching it with my brother, Andy, who isn't my brother, but there we go. That's a tale for another day. Do we have time for that tale now? No, we don't. Peace and solidarity. Thanks very much for watching. Please be careful out there as I lean forward. Peace everyone.